If I had to look at a dog's poop or pee while eating my food, even though it didn't happen, but the opportunity for it were to arise, I would be pretty upset too. What's up everybody, what's on the menu? Back at again with another video, and this time we're here to talk about Gordon Ramsay and his questionable restaurant standards. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of this video, I just want to say shout out to everybody who's become a recent subscriber, as we are now at over 600 subscribers. Thank you so much everybody who has recently subscribed. I really appreciate the support. And as always, if you like the videos that I put out, don't forget to like the video if you like it, don't if you don't. And if you like more social media and pop culture related topics like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And without further ado, let's get started. TikToker Giselle Cade posted herself eating at one of Gordon Ramsay's famous pizza restaurants in London, but had a dog next to her with a wee-wee pad out in the open while indoors of the establishment.
Ma'am, why is there a dog using a wee-wee pad in a restaurant? What is that? Gordon Ramsay Pizza Restaurant in London. I want to tell you guys, never come eat here. I'm sitting at this restaurant enjoying a beautiful evening with my husband and my newborn baby, and I look up and I see some woman with her dog on a wee-wee pad taking a piss in a shit. I tell the patron, the lady who's working, the waitress, whatever, about this. She doesn't do anything about it. The manager was there the entire time. He said nothing. I still paid the bill. But I'm telling you now, do not come to this restaurant. They allow dogs to shit and piss where you are eating. Beyond disgusting. For a Gordon Ramsay London restaurant, where he's from. It's disgusting.
Gordon Ramsay ended up seeing this TikTok made by Giselle and had a few words of his own, as well as a TikTok response that he made to her video.
Hey, Gemini, can this dog come to Street Pizza tomorrow night, please, for supper? Bruno? Tilly, what do you think?
Thank you. How are you?
Oh,
So I
good,
want
nice
to
to
ask
see
you, did you ever get a chance to address that TikToker that had the issue with the dog inside the shop?
What we have seen is the CCTV footage, and under no circumstances did that dog do a pee or poo, and so over-exaggerated, as always, clickbait, but thank you for your honesty and the question. May I have a follow-up? Yes.
Last. Would you consider not having dogs at all, or is that something that's not going to happen?
Dogs are welcome outside the terrace on the restaurant. All right, guys, thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ramsay.
Though Gordon Ramsay fires back with claims that the dog did not defecate or urinate inside the restaurant, he says that pets are allowed at the restaurant, but only on the outside portion and not inside whatsoever. Giselle not only fires back at Gordon Ramsay for insulting her at the fact that the dog was clearly inside in her video, but also the fact that he insulted her by putting a dog with a diaper in his own home, basically discrediting the stuff that she was trying to bring light to in her previous complaint as to why she didn't want to eat at the restaurant with a doggy pad out.
To stitch my TikTok video with a dog laughing about it is beyond appalling. I will never go to another Gordon Ramsay restaurant as long as I live, and I will not recommend it to anybody else either. I want to again reiterate that their restaurant states that dogs are only allowed outside. I was sitting with my newborn baby inside the restaurant. So why was I seated next to a dog and a wee-wee pad? I don't want to sit next to a wee-wee pad. I don't want to sit next to a wee-wee pad when I'm having a dinner, and I most definitely don't want to sit next to a wee-wee pad when I'm with my newborn son while having dinner. The Gordon Ramsay team violated their own policy. If you go to GordonRamsayRestaurants.com, you will see that it says any size dogs are allowed at the Battersea restaurant in London. But what you will also see is that it says outdoors only. This is their policy on their website. And in that video, you can clearly see that the dog was inside of the restaurant. At no time did management ask the patron to leave. At no time did I see management or any member of the team sanitize or clean that area where the wee-wee pad was. That it clearly states that dogs are only allowed outside. So they violated their own policy. I want to end this video by saying we did not ask for a discount. We did ask to have the service charge of 15% removed from our bill, to which they did after some back and forth. Nobody at any time apologized for our experience. I have not heard from Gordon Ramsay or his team. While I was there, nobody cleaned or sanitized the area. At no time did I see anybody address the dog owner, or did I see any repercussions for the events that took place.
As you all can see, there's a lot of back and forth between the restaurant owner, Gordon Ramsay, and the restaurant patron, Giselle Cade. There's some things that could have been handled better and addressed better by, all the parties involved, but I just have my 2 cents, and let's get into it. First off, I want to say Gordon Ramsay dropped the ball hard on this one. I want to say tremendously. Like, he shattered it. He popped it. He destroyed the ball. That's all I got to say. For the last 20 years of my life, as far as I can remember even, this man has been a professional chef on TV, known for having such a very, very, very intense, detail-oriented approach for how he manages a restaurant in terms of its cleanliness, in terms of the quality of the food they put out, and in terms of the type of service they're providing for the patrons.
Read that it was dog friendly. As much as we like dogs, I don't want a dog in where I'm eating.
I agree. I think that's disgusting.
So when, him being a successful chef, being known worldwide, has cooking shows, restaurants, cookbooks, you name it, he's as famous as any chef can be. And someone goes to one of his restaurants and points out an issue with how the service staff is treating a situation, especially in terms of cleanliness. And his response is to, one, make fun of the patron who has the complaint, and two, basically denounce any claims that she has as to whether she has grounds to stand on to make the complaint in the first place, is actually quite sad if you think about it. I can probably give you 10 clips off of YouTube alone of him being appalled at the below average standards of cleanliness that people have when either cooking at restaurants for him, or him going into restaurants and seeing if people are holding up a certain level of quality. And that's just something that he does not tolerate. But then in real life, when someone's saying, hey, there's a dog with basically the equivalent of a toilet next to my seat, and my child, who is basically a very sensitive immune system, could get infected by one of the diseases that the poop may carry, or may be negatively affected by the urine or anything that the dog excretes for his body because their toilet is right next to my table. I don't like that, and I should be, treated appropriately for that. Service fee should be removed from my bill, and that should not be acceptable. I think it's odd that Gordon Ramsay's response to her showing that a dog literally had the equivalent of a toilet right next to her table, and he's saying that it's blown out of proportion, even though the dog didn't use the wee-wee pad, is kind of sad and a little disappointing to hear from a chef of his caliber. I think for any person, if they had to sit next to a toilet for the entirety of their meal, they'll be pretty upset. Just because the wee-wee pad doesn't look like a conventional toilet doesn't mean the dog didn't have the ability to use it as such. What if the dog did use the wee-wee pad as a toilet, or defecated or pissed on it? Would then it be okay for him to respond in a more compassionate manner? I think the fact that the dog even had the opportunity to have a wee pad next to the woman's table in the first place is kind of disgusting behavior, and I wouldn't want to eat at that restaurant either. As a world-renowned chef, I think you want to keep your reputation as having a quality restaurant with good food, good service, and an overall good atmosphere, because you're bringing in people from around the world. But when someone visits the restaurant in your home country, may I add, and then describes a problem with the cleanliness of the restaurant, and you basically brush it off as, oh no, the dog didn't poop or pee on the restaurant, and dogs are allowed on the terrace, when the dog was clearly inside the restaurant, it kind of just shows that you're pushing this customer's complaints to the side as something that's not worth your time, or something that's blown out of proportion. Yes, the dog didn't poop or pee based on CCTV footage. Okay, but the option for the dog to do either of those things was still there because the wee pad was on the floor next to the person eating their food. If I had to look at a dog's poop or pee while eating my food, even though it didn't happen, but the opportunity for it were to arise, I would be pretty upset too. I know a lot of people in the Western world have a large affinity towards dogs and animals in general. Like, dogs and cats are very popular for people to have as pets. And a lot of people walk around with their dogs into restaurants and establishments, even if they're not service dogs, which is something that I'm not the biggest fan of, but to each their own. I think that for a lot of people, they're not comfortable eating next to dogs or pets, and the fact that this dog had the ability to use the bathroom next to this person while they were eating their food is actually disgusting, and this woman was spot on with that description. Honestly, I think Gordon Ramsay owes this woman an apology, because for him to have such a high standard for his restaurants on TV and throughout the entirety of the time I've seen him on television, and then when someone calls him out for his restaurants providing bad service in terms of cleanliness and hospitality for someone who's in the presence of the potential of a dog doing its business right in front of them while eating their food, is actually quite hypocritical and very sad for me to see, as someone who watched him growing up and see him as someone who took no BS when it came to restaurant standards. But then when his restaurant standards come into question, he brushes it under the rug and says that's really a non-issue. And before we top it all off, I actually have a story about Gordon Ramsay's restaurant that I actually recently attended this past weekend, which kind of prompted me to make this video on him and his poor restaurant standards. I was actually in Las Vegas this past weekend and went to his Hell's Kitchen because I heard it had very good reviews. He makes good food, and his beef Wellington is the best in the world. It was for a bachelor party, and there was about 12 to 13 of us, and unfortunately for us, because we had such a large group, we had to prepay, which meant that we had to give up a certain amount of money before we even ate in the restaurant and stepped foot into the establishment. Due to the rules of the restaurant and having a prepaid bill, we each had to fork over at least $300, and when we got to the restaurant, it was a pre-selected amount of food that we could eat. A Caesar salad as an appetizer, filet mignon, salmon skin, and a vegetarian something else for the 3 entree choices, and the 1 toffee pudding as a dessert. We added appetizers onto that too, but it wasn't really worth the price of the whole meal, considering that we prepaid $300+ before even sitting down at the restaurant. Long story short, I wasn't really impressed with any of the food that was put on our table that night. The stand-up food to me was actually the toffee pudding, which I thought was really good, so good that I ate my friends who didn't even want his. But besides that, the filet mignon was medium rare, wasn't very flavorful, and the flavor actually came from the charring of the grill. There was nothing more than salt and burnt charcoal that was covering the steak. The Caesar salad was middle of the pack at best, wasn't very flavorful, and had a hint of lemon, which I wasn't too much of a fan of. And as I stated, the toffee pudding was the best thing on the menu. It was really good, so good I had seconds. It had ice cream. It had some like caramel drizzle on the side, and it was very sweet, and I liked it a lot. But besides that, everything else in the restaurant was middle to below average in terms of my standards, and the fact that we paid $300+ for a meal that we basically were bounded into and wasn't anything special for a restaurant of that caliber. I was very, very disappointed, and I don't think I'll be ever attending a Gordon Ramsay restaurant ever again in my life. So yeah, there's that. All in all, what do you guys think? Do you think Giselle Cade was well within her right to complain to Gordon Ramsay about the quality of his restaurant, especially after asking staff if they could remedy the situation in some way, shape, or form? Or do you think that she blew the situation out of proportion and Gordon Ramsay was entitled to respond the way he did, and she actually was making something out of nothing? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Deuces.